What's going on, everybody? Totally drained Lady Ox here. At least this time I have a proper game to review. It's Little Nightmares 2. I'd only previously watched a playthrough of the first game, but had to go back and play it myself before this one came out. If you've never seen this game before, well, it's really trippy and strange. I still have no idea just exactly where the game takes place, who anyone is, or what's going on. It's like the whole game world is a nightmare or something. An indie horror title that blends a few cultures, styles, and horror tales together makes something truly unique. You play as this little girl who appears to be hiding her true nature, playing through this 2.5D platforming horror game inside a giant ship filled with increasingly deadly and disturbing monsters who just want to eat our tiny protagonist. Little Nightmares 2, I now know takes place before the first game. I found this out after doing a little research, where I thought it happened after. So, it's actually a prequel, if that's the real interpretation of sequence of events shown after collecting all glitches in the game. You don't play as the little girl, but you do find her locked up and in need of rescue. In this game, we actually play as a little boy instead. It's a bit strange when you first begin, as kinda like before, you literally have no idea what is going on or what you need to do. You go more off feeling. One of the very first things you see is a trap that's captured some humanoid looking people much bigger than yourself, clearly indicating that this forest is not safe at all and something is deliberately trapping people. For what purpose? Well, that's a horrific truth that you have to uncover as you progress through the game. Starting in this forest area, you get to grips with some of the basic game mechanics and how your character moves. Having to grab hold of ledges to climb up them, crouch to fit through small openings, run and jump across gaps, and drag around items to help you get around the world. You are tiny compared to everything in this world, and you have to navigate through houses and buildings made for beings much larger than yourself. It adds this sense of smallness and weakness. A door, for example, is so short that it's not as simple as just turning the handle. You actually have to find a way to jump to it and hold the handle down just to get a door to swing open. Just climbing onto things or picking up everyday objects is that much harder when you're so tiny. You can grab or pick up objects to use. Often, you just go about trying to pick up everything you can in the hopes it's needed to get through the area you're in. It's all about making use of anything around you or trying to spot paths you can reach, clambering over furniture to get where you need to go, using a small object to throw it at switches you can't reach. This is all pretty standard for the game, but quickly you see it's not. This is because the boy appears to be a little bit stronger than the girl, able to lift heavier objects, like a friggin' axe for example. So weird having a weapon in this game. The thing is weighty though, so he's only able to drag it around, but he can swing at doors to break through them or even attack things with it. Then there is the next big difference. You have an AI companion, a la Aiko. Once freeing the little girl, she actually runs around on her own, walking off to find her own way out, showing you which way to go. The AI paths itself around and interacts with things on its own, even able to operate objects or pick stuff up themselves. The idea though is that it's going to take both of you to get through this strange land, needing the other's help to push heavy objects together or even boost the other up to higher ledges. When far from each other or in need of help, you can hold each other's hands to lead them where you want to go, or call the girl to get her attention. Navigating your way around actually feels all that much scarier as you have no idea what is ahead of you, often stumbling into some fresh hell as the screen transitions. Every design aspect of this game is made to make you feel on edge. Creepy instrumental music playing, getting louder and more frantic when things go to shit. So many sounds you have to be aware of, cause maybe, just maybe, that creaking you hear is something making its way closer to you. Or that horrible moaning coming from behind a closed door, that's probably something bad you're going to walk into. Of course, it's all a bazillion times louder to your tiny ears, and all the creatures in this game are massive, so they have very loud footsteps. Threats are actually prefaced by an ever-increasing heartbeat, thumping louder and louder the closer you get to danger, vibrating in increasing intensity through your controller. Sneaking on by as quietly as you can is the only way you can get past safely and the best course of action. Just hiding becomes an option too, as you have no way to withstand an attack from these much larger beings if you get spotted. There is the horrible sense of urgency and panic problem solving when near anything dangerous, wanting to flee so badly but not knowing which way will lead you to safety. Trying to find a path away from whatever horrible thing you're standing near, quickly too, as the bloody thing might turn around and notice you any second. Most large beings have very good hearing, so you have to be careful what noise you make. Like if you run across a squeaky floorboard, or knock over objects, or if you throw something. One of the first bizarre and unnamed horrors you'll have to get past is this hunter, the masked trapper responsible for hunting things in the forest. Dude actually takes out a gun and fires on you, as if he couldn't just step on you and kill you just as easy. You have to follow the girl's cues and run away from him while keeping to any cover nearby when the hunter starts to take his shot. Pumping your tiny little legs to run away, always feeling so slow, and the hunter gaining on your heels quickly with his larger strides. Hiding will buy you time as he passes by, but you still have to escape his patrolling. Playing hide and seek in the tall grass and moving only when his torchlight moves away from you. Followed by an equally butt-clenching trek through mud swamps, having to submerge below the surface to hide where no cover is available. But like with all chase sequences against monsters, you eventually will be able to turn the tables on your pursuing foes, finding some violent method to finally dispatch of him. The hunter eventually copping a shotgun blast to the face as you and the girl desperately lift the heavy firearm into place with your combined efforts as the hunter tries to break through the door, that same desperate searching again to just find something, anything that you can use to stop the monster's pursuit for good. But the journey has only just begun, the world opening up into a larger city with multiple locations to get through. The dark and warped buildings stretching out above like some broken skeleton, barely standing and bones crumbling in their effort to stay straight. I really love this eclectic bunch of mixed architecture and cultural design that Little Nightmares 2 has. It's not one style, it's a mix of a few, which I said at the beginning of this video, it gives it this unique, wholly new vibe to it. Everything is warped, slightly off kilter, stretched and misshapen. It's just so strange and mysterious, really much like a nightmare. You only have what you see to go off, trying to piece together what happened and what this place is all about. The sodden streets provide nothing but more mysteries. Long abandoned apartments leaking water. Clothing the only thing left behind, a ghostly remainder of a person strung up on a noose, body disappeared. No clue as to what happened here. On arriving, you encounter your first instance of the boy's connection to TVs. Some power emanating from them and his own reacting with the signal, able to alter it, change it, and be drawn inside it. Some strange and frightening thing waiting behind a closed door at the end of a hallway, only to be pulled out suddenly by the girl as you get close to the door to the secret. This puts into question the boy's origins and what powers he possesses, but it also makes you cautious of the girl's motives. Having played the first game, yeah, she isn't as innocent as she appears. For the rest of the game, things just get more confusing as you progress through new areas of the city. A school and even a hospital, classic horror tropes and locations. All that much more scary as you know just how bad these places are in most other games. Instinctual fear setting in before you have stepped into whatever new nightmare you're stumbling into. Each vista worse than the last, and some bizarre citizens and creatures to come up against next. A cold, dead world, moved on it seems, left to rot, with horrifying creations populating the dead streets. Inside the school, you face the creepy and nasty porcelain-faced children. Not sure what on earth they are, dolls or some kind of fleshy automaton monstrosities, hell-bent on violent mischief, setting traps throughout the school, springing them on you as they scurry away hiding in the shadows. Here is where the game opens up into something wholly different from the last, because you actually have to fight your way through these nasty children. Picking up a large bit of pipe, creeping up behind them and smashing them to pieces. Even being assaulted head on by a bunch of these little shits at once. Having to time your attacks right and aim your blow perfectly. In a panicked defense, fighting for your very life. Completely on your own for now too, as the bullies have captured the girl. Oh, but no, these kids aren't something you should be afraid of. Nope. There is something much worse in the school. this freakish, stretchy, fleshy, long-neck abomination, the teacher. Even the doll kids are scared of her. She doesn't even have to be in the same room as you if she hunts you, able to stretch her head out and chomp onto you using her elastic neck, stretching through doorways, over shelves, into air ducts. Truly terrifying. Then, of course, the infinitely more horrifying hospital comes next. Only barely escaping with your life, and you get the pleasure of meeting a new beast from hell and a lovely new set of enemies to deal with, gaining yet another new mechanic for this next area, as seems to be the case. Having to use a flashlight to see in the hospital's dark hallways, really making this horror game that much worse. Only to throw at you your next threat, the prosthetic mannequin creatures, which, you guessed it, come lurching at you from within the dark in their horrible twitching of fake limbs and damaged parts. Only the light stopping them from moving towards you, having to train your flashlight on them to stop them from moving. Sometimes needing them to move out of the way, risking them getting too close, having seconds to spare to halt their advance with the light again. Locating fuses to power the hospital to turn lights on to get through safely. Finding the beast responsible for these horrible creations down below in the morgue. Another disgusting monstrosity that needs to be murdered in the worst way possible. Our two little children seeming more like two little nightmares. See? You get it? For the final segment of the game, add in the mechanic of television teleportation, connecting one TV to another to move through them, gaining a remote to power them on, with the threat of the faceless signal-obsessed viewers that have their melty faces glued to any screen that is on. Mobs of them hunting you in the street if you turn their TVs off. Plus, the new and most frightening creature to be introduced to the game, the Tall Man, or Telly Man as I call him. Slender Man looking dude who just casually strides his way after you, able to phase his way out of TVs and through walls. To then reach the finale of the game that poses a bazillion questions and is just as confusing as everything else in this game. It's all so bloody great though. It really is just as amazing as the first game, but better. An AI companion adding layers to the team-up puzzle solving and object manipulation. Far more areas of this nightmare world to get through, making for a much longer and better value game. Progressively harder and unique enemies to deal with. Adding new mechanics for each segment. Relying on the game's physics engine to navigate your way through each problem. Using creative thinking to figure stuff out, jumping on hanging objects to break it with your weight, or move stuff by swinging with your built momentum. Using machines to find ways forward, climbing your way over the huge furniture and hidden paths. Great uses of objects and items in the world in order to facilitate the puzzle solving. Quite a few challenging problems where you really have to think outside the box and factor in the 2.5D movement. Little secrets and clues, glitches, and cosmetic hats to find along the way. Actual combat, which was crazy to discover this game could even do. Incredibly good pursuit monsters, wonderfully frightening chase segments, always having the monsters right on your heels, just an inch away from getting you. Sneaky stealth segments that introduce said monsters in a slow reveal, more terrifying in its obscurity, keeping the true threat a nightmarish surprise till the last minute. The game's aesthetic, their creative designs, even just the standard of the graphics is just too good. The music, the sound design, it too is all part of the terror, slowly creeping into your eardrums, thrumming louder and shocking you suddenly and never relenting when the chase is on, making you panic if you weren't already shitting yourself and scrambling around like a headless chicken. Dying is also part of the game. It's more like trial and error to find just what particular thing you need to do and how you need to navigate your way through. Taking a cleaner line and an escape. Jumping just a little bit sooner to not plummet to your death. It's really fair as well, spawning close by to where you die, almost instantly as well, making for a quick redo to get things just right in order to succeed. Even the 2.5D problems of the last game, like the depth perception problems, seem to be cleaned up in this game. I did find a few little issues with the context-sensitive things like grabbing objects for example though, but everything else is just really well done and so polished. A wonderful prequel or sequel, whatever the case is. Heaps of nods and Easter eggs alluding to the first game. An expansion upon the strange nightmare world that gets even more terrifying than the last. Incredibly engaging, equally fascinating, a dark mystery that you just want to figure out. Not the longest game in the world, but just the right length for this quality game. Little Nightmares 2 is a horror indie title that you just can't miss out on. It's a must play. So glad this series is doing so well, and the devs should really be proud of what they've created. Finally, something decent to play this month and worth every dollar. So thanks for watching this review. Hope I didn't spoil too much of the game when trying to review it. If you like my strange review style, sub to see more. I play most of the latest releases each week and give them my lore dump review treatment. Time for though, make sure to check out Little Nightmares 2, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!